Hello everyone, and welcome to a really tough fight from the penultimate round of this year's Stepan Avagyan Memorial Tournament. It's Arjun Erigaisi versus Volodar Murzin. Both of them incredibly strong and very, very young. Arjun, he's currently 20 years old, I believe, but Volodar is 17. So, and already 2650, it's like he just, leaped forward from 2300 the last time I checked on him. Now he's 2650. And this is the first video actually that I'm featuring of him on the channel. So, I could have chosen a better game from his perspective, but I will show at least one more to make up for it, as this is sort of an Arjun story. He is currently leading the FIDE circuit, and he has very, very good chances of qualifying for the next FIDE Candidates Tournament that will be played in 2026. Now, that's also something that I wanted to discuss a little bit, because here the qualification process is a little bit different than we've had in the previous candidates tournaments. So the top 3 finishers of the Chess World Cup that will be played next year in 2025, the top 2 finishers of the FIDE Grand Swiss tournament also to be played next year, and the winner of the 2025 FIDE circuit. This and also there is the 2024 FIDE circuit, which is the only thing you can do in 2024 to actually qualify for the 2026 candidates tournament. And it's for the moment it's a pretty big fight between Arjun Erigaisi and Nodirbek Abdusatorov. And also the highest average rating from August 2025 to January 2026, so also an improvement from the last qualification process. But one thing that you probably noticed, that the loser of the World Chess Championship match between Gukesh and Ding will not be seeded directly into the next candidates tournament, which was kind of a practice up until now. So let's check it out. Really wild game. Arjun has the white pieces, and he opens with pawn to e4. We have pawn to e5 by Volodar, knight to f3, knight to c6, and bishop to b5, going for the Ruy Lopez, and Volodar goes for knight to f6, the Berlin defense. We have pawn to d3, bishop to c5, pawn to a4, and both players castle. So all of this has been played before, and even Arjun had this exact same position against Narayana last year in Qatar Masters. Their game ended in a draw. Castles, but Narayanan struck in the center with pawn to d4. But here we have rook to e8 by Volodar, and it is now as of move 6 that we have a completely new game, which is very, very exciting, as this is the Berlin. Knight to c3, we have knight to d4, opting for some trades early on. Knight captures, we have bishop captures, and knight to e2, attacking the bishop on d4. Pawn to c6, challenging the bishop on b5, and now knight captures on d4, e captures on d4, and the bishop retreats to c4. We have pawn to d5, striking in the center, e captures, knight captures, and queen to f3. And if you check the situation on the clock, Arjun has not spent really a second in this game so far. He has an hour and 34 minutes, so he actually gained 4 minutes, and Volodar is burning some time. He is down to 1 hour and 13 minutes. So Arjun playing everything out of preparation for the moment, and queen to f3 is his first move where he actually spent some time, 20 minutes on this move. So now we could say they are both out of book. We have bishop to e6 and bishop to d2, preparing to develop the rooks. We have knight back to c7, offering a trade of bishops, and bishop captures on e6. So now you have to decide. How do you recapture on e6? Do you play rook captures, or do you play knight captures? Everything, of course, is possible. Volodar decides for rook captures, and now rook f to e1. We have queen to d5, offering a queen trade, and Arjun accepts. Queen captures on d5, and now you could capture with the pawn, you could capture with the knight, you could first trade rooks with check, and then recapture the queen. You will have to. Yeah, I mean, you have to decide, do you want to capture with the knight and then allow f captures on e6? Well, really, whatever you do, you will increase your presence in the center. So that works well for Volodar. Knight captures on d5, rook captures on e6, f captures, and just pawn to a5. Grabbing more space on the queen side. And Volodar will have a very, very strong presence in the center when he plays c5 and maybe e5. So he does go for c5 right away. King to f1, and now rook to c8. So you can see the situation on the clock. Arjun over an hour, Volodar 38 minutes on the clock. Arjun is a little bit better, but he doesn't really have any sort of an advantage other than having a bishop versus a knight, which could be important if the rooks come off the board, as there is play on both sides of the board. We have king to e2, king to f7, and now just pawn to c4. Now, there are two ways to go about this for Volodar. He could go, for example, knight e7 and allow pawn to b4, and then let's say captures, you go knight back to c6, attack the bishop, bishop to d2 and e5. So this is one setup that he could play, and let's say if rook b1 goes after the pawn, rook c7, it's a perfectly fine position for both. But instead, after c4, he played d captures on c3 en passant, b captures, and now pawn to c4. And this is a very tricky idea, because if you advance the pawn to d4, then you will be stuck with this weak c3 pawn for the entire game, and there will, well, it will be only black who will be playing for something here. So after c4, rook to a4 by Arjun, c captures on d3 with check, king captures, and rook to d8, threatening some very nasty discoveries, king to c2, and now pawn to a6, stopping pawn to a6 from Arjun, rook to h4, played with tempo, attacking the pawn on h7, pawn to h6, and now pawn to c4. And now you can see the problem of facing the bishop with the knight in an open board with material on both sides of the board. The knight is completely dominated and has to go back. But on the other side, this is a dark square bishop, so it can only attack the knight on dark squares, not on light squares. And of course, the bishop can only collect pawns that are on dark squares. The knight can collect pawns on any color. So knight e7, we have rook to f4 with check, king to g8, and rook to g4. Played with tempo, as knight bishop captures on h6 is being threatened, so king to f7. Volodar, of course, tries to repeat, and bishop to c3, threatening rook captures on g7. And now there are two ways you could defend. You could play pawn to g5 and allow something like pawn to h4, but Volodar decides to keep the tension, plays knight to f5, just defends the pawn on g7. The rook is on g4, so you don't have to worry about pawn to g4. This holds very nicely. We have rook to f4, now preparing pawn to g4, and king to g8. And now Arjun has to figure out how to make some progress here, as he is better on time, but they are also approaching time control. 8 more moves and time control will be reached. We have pawn to h4, pawn to h5, stopping pawn to g4, and now pawn to g3. We have rook d7, and rook to e4 goes after the e6 pawn. We have king to f7 defending, and rook to e5. We have rook to c7, putting pressure on the c4 pawn, king to b3, and king to e7. Volodar very happy with his position, nothing to worry about here. We have rook back to e1, king to f7 repeating, rook to e5, king to e7 repeating, and now king to b4 by Arjun. He declines the repetition of moves, and king to d6. Now move control has been reached, 40 moves have been played, and we have rook back to e1, and now rook to c8. So both of them gained additional time on the clock. Now you can see it's 55 minutes versus 34 minutes, and the question is how to continue playing this. Rook to c8 is not the most precise way to play, and Arjun played bishop to e5 here, but c5 check is also very nice. It grabs space for free, and black has to go back, because if you capture, then rook captures on e6 with check, and after the king infiltrates, then the queenside pawns will fall, and the a5 pawn just wins the game. But okay, Arjun played bishop to e5 check. We have king to d7 and rook to b1 now, preparing to put pressure on the b7 pawn, and now again rook to f8 is the way to go, or something like knight to d6. Sorry, rook to f8 is not the way to go. This is actually what Volodar played. You have to play something like knight to d6. And the idea is that now if the pawn is advanced, you will play the knight to e4 and attack the pawn on f2 and on c5. Or if you capture, for example, captures, and pawn to f4, now g6, and okay, you can play this. But after rook to b1, Volodar played rook to f8, and this is his first actual mistake of the game, and Arjun exploits it very nicely. And there are many ways to exploit it. You could play king to c5, you could play pawn to c5, or you could play king to a4, which just puts more pressure on the b7 pawn. Now, you cannot go here. The bishop controls that. You cannot go knight to d6. The bishop also just captures the pawn. So king to c6 was played, and now rook to b6 check, king to c5, and Arjun captured on b7 right away. But it's also perfectly fine to defend the pawn on c4 and next consolidate with pawn to f4. And even with this, for example, check, let's say bishop captures, king captures, you can still play pawn to f4. And now if rook to f7 defending, now you play rook to d6 with check, and after the king moves, you start collecting, also will be winning. But after king to c5, Arjun captured right away. We have king captures on c4 and rook to a7. We have king to d5, bishop to b2. The bishop is put out of harm's way, rook to b8, and now bishop to a3. This is the only move that gives Arjun the winning advantage. Otherwise, the bishop can just be harassed indefinitely. And also, if you capture the pawn on g7, which seems like a good idea, let's say rook captures e5, this is now nothing more than a draw. For example, rook g5, you will play rook to b2, go after the f2 pawn. If rook captures on h5, rook captures on f2. And yes, Arjun would be up a pawn, but it would still be a draw. So instead, after rook b8, bishop to a3, and now rook to c8. We have rook captures on a6 and rook to c4 with check by Volodar. And there's only one move that wins the game here for Arjun, but it's really not a simple one to spot. So feel free to pause the video and use any and all endgame knowledge that you have to solve this one. It's really a tough cookie to crack. Feel free to pause the video and win the game for Arjun while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on solving a very, very difficult endgame puzzle. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it is bishop to b4. Only move that wins. Just to give you an example of the problem, let's say go king b5, you go up the board, looks really winning. There's knight to d4 check, and once you go further up the board, king b6, there's rook to c3. Okay, the bishop is attacked. You move the bishop to f8. e5, look at this, bishop captures on g7, knight to e6, getting closer and closer to that white king. Also, the bishop is attacked. Let's say bishop h6, knight c7, and you cannot avoid a repetition. For example, rook to a7, you put pressure on the knight, rook to c6 check, connecting nicely with the bishop here, and once king to b7 is played, knight to b5. The bishop is hanging, the rook is hanging, and the only way to defend is rook to a6, gets both of your pieces out of harm's way. But now you just go for the repetition, knight e6 check, king a7, knight to b5 check, and so on and so on. No win here for Arjun. But he finds the correct idea, bishop to b4, and now there is no way for the knight to reach the white king in time. The trick being that if you go for knight to d4 now, rook to d6 check, also possible with the bishop nicely placed on b4, and once you move the king, pawn to f4 check, king moves somewhere, and now the a pawn just wins the game. It's much different. So instead, rook to c2 going after the f2 pawn, but now rook to b6. It is no longer time to be counting pawns. Knight to d4, and now pawn to a6. Luckily, there's a bishop here. Otherwise, it could just be checkmate. Rook to a2 check, bishop to a3. Now knight to c2, but luckily you have rook b3. Rook to b3. Knight captures. We have rook captures, and only now rook captures on f2. We have pawn to a7. Rook to f8, stopping the promotion. King to b5, now threatening the promotion, and rook to a8. And okay, it's equal material, but Arjun's pawn is just much too strong. We have king to b6, pawn to e5, and now king to b7. Attacking the rook here, rook to f8, and now the final nail in the coffin, a8 queen. We have rook captures on a8, rook captures, and now pawn to e4, but Arjun just plays rook to a5 with check, and he was in this position on move 63 that Volodar Murzin resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. For those of you who like it when I finish the game and are wondering, but isn't the e-pawn also fast? Yes, it's fast, but not fast enough. King to d4, rook will capture on h5, we will play e3, rook to h8, and after e2, you will stop the pawn easily. For example, king d3, g4, king to d2, you will play pawn to h5, E1 queen, you will have to, of course, capture it, and now G5, and the passed pawn will just easily win the game. King F2, H5, captures, and now you will have you will be up a full queen, of course, completely winning. Everyone can finish from this point on. But yeah, Rook A5 check, Volodar resigns, and a very, very nice victory for Arjun Erigaisi in the penultimate round. He also played, I think he also just finished the game while I'm recording this from the final round. I think it was a draw, and he wins the tournament. He won the tournament one full round before he actually played the final round, so the victory against Volodar ensured him the tournament victory, and this also ensured that he is leading the FIDE circuit. Let me just quickly check. Do I have it? Yeah, I do have it here. So here it is. Sorry about that. So yeah, okay. I'm first gonna show you what's up with the ratings. Let me just remove this here. Yeah. Okay, so you can see Arjun won a lot of points. He's now world number 4, 27-78. He won 17 points. Abdusatorov won 2.5. Not the cleanest tournament. I mean, he still won almost first place. Yakuboev just edged him out at the end of the event. But yeah, I mean, with that many points, it's very hard to gain ratings. So Arjun's 17 points is absolutely incredible. 27-57, that's 10 points for Prague. And also we have Alireza winning some rating back with 6 points. Ding lost a lot of points. But yeah, what are you going to do? But this is what I really wanted to show you. Just give me a second to load it up. There we go. The leaders of the FIDE circuit. These are the top 10 currently. So Arjun leading. You can see that he already played 7 events in 2024, and the FIDE circuit is the only thing you can qualify with during 2024 to qualify for the 2026 candidates tournament. All of the other qualification spots will happen in 2025. So yeah, Arjun leading with 77.38 points, followed by Nodrbek with 74.71. So very, very close, and it will be a very, very close race between the two of them. But we should also not count out Gukesh, who might not even have to play the candidates tournament if he beats Ding and becomes world champion. But if he doesn't, yeah, he will, of course, need those extra points. Hans Niemann also in fourth with 35 points. Daniel Dartha, Amin Tabatabai, Nodrbek, Kuboev, Parham Maksulu, Yuangi, and Wei. You can see Gukesh won 26.94 points for winning the candidates tournament, which is quite a lot. But you can see that Nodrbek got 25 points for winning first place in Prague Masters. So I mean, what's more difficult, first place in Prague Masters or first place in the candidates tournament? You get those few. I mean, it's not even 2 extra points. So I don't know. Looks the pointing is a bit weird. I would rate the winning the candidates tournament like 50 if winning the Prague Masters is 25. But okay, what do I know? But yeah, just keeping you in the loop. Arjun for the moment the favorite to enter the next candidates tournament, and I know how many of you missed him in this one, so it would be very nice. But we also want Nodrbek. I mean, we want everyone in we want 16 people in the candidates, not 8. And then they should brawl it out. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Very nicely played by Arjun, winning the tournament with a full round to spare, and also getting world number 4. He's very, very close to. You can see he's very, very close to Fabi, 27.95. So yeah, I mean, one more incredible event like this, and he might even be 2800. We'll see what happens. But yeah, hope you enjoyed it. I would like to thank EK McAllister, Eric Keith McAllister, MB Reed, Christian Janet, and Jack Obeid for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. So thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day. And sorry for the bit of a pause. Like I said, it was my birthday, and I enjoyed some time off. See you soon.